Ukraine drastically changes its tactics, does a surprise attack in the east, which yields very important gains, and Russians are only significantly concerned. But more about all this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous YouTube propaganda. So, if you remember my yesterday's video, I showed a guy, even a picture of a guy on the side of the motorcycle holding a gun, and I just jokingly said how funny it will be if YouTube will demonetize my video for showing weapons. And well, in all seriousness, somebody from YouTube manually checked my video and flagged it for spreading the violence. Guys, don't you think this is absolutely ridiculous? Some other major media companies, they literally show the uncensored combat footage, and YouTube is like, that's okay, what else, you're a war channel. And me, I'm showing the remains of the plane or even a picture of a gun, and that's it, I'm immediately cancelled, my video is 18+ because the content is shocking and explicit. This is just stupid, to say the least. For these reasons, guys, really, please just subscribe to my channel so you don't lose it. Because you never know whenever YouTube is going to put additional restrictions on my channel, or even in the worst case scenario, completely removed from the search. And I don't want to lose you guys, so just once again, please subscribe. And also, every single time YouTube demonetizes my videos, I lose a significant portion of revenue. So if you want to support the channel and also see the uncensored episodes and all the other extra footage, please go ahead and check my Patreon, the link is down below. Thank you so much everyone, and now let's continue. And so yes, now let's briefly talk about the United States, which approved and already planning to send very controversial weapons to Ukraine, and then we'll talk about quick update from Russia, east and south of Ukraine. And so yes, if you remember from yesterday's episode, the General Secretary of the United States, Antony Blinken, was in Kiev recently. And just like this, in McDonald's while having French fries and pies, he and Dmytro Kuleba, they signed a $1 billion military support package deal. In addition to that, America also approved and will be sending the depleted uranium tank shells, which is a cause for a serious controversy, and even the United Nations said that they do not fully support this decision. Besides that, America will also be sending even more cluster munition to Ukraine, in addition to 190 armored vehicles MRAPs. And just in general, this next military support package to Ukraine will also include HIMARS missile, ammunition and demining equipment. But wait, there is more, because America will be putting its base on the territory on Finland, which is only less than 200 kilometers away from Russia. Congratulations, Putin, you just played yourself. Right, and before talking about update from the south of Ukraine, let me just give you a couple of words about the territory of Russia being attacked once again and one of Russian generals being arrested. And first of all, the capital of Russia, Moscow, was once again targeted by allegedly Ukrainian drones. And the Russian general responsible for the air defense of Moscow, Konstantin Ogienko, he was arrested, but not because he failed to protect the capital, but because allegedly he took some bribes, worth of approximately $100,000 or even more. And in the best case scenario for him, he will go straight to jail. In the worst case scenario, he will just disappear, or drink some Russian tea. I don't even know what's better or worse. Then we go to Bryansk, already located pretty close to Ukraine, where this last morning there was also another allegedly Ukrainian drone. And ultimately in Rostov-on-Don, also pretty close to the Ukrainian territory, also some very loud noises have been reported by the locals. And now, as promised, let's talk about the south of Ukraine. And first of all, we make a stop in Odessa, which has been targeted by Russian drones once again, specifically its ports infrastructure. And just overall, in the last 24 hours, Ukrainians were able to intercept 25 out of 33 Russian Shahed drones. Then we also have some very controversial information about Elon Musk that last year in 2022 Ukrainians were doing a very secretive raid against the Russian Black Sea fleet, and just whenever they were using these drones and started to approach the Russian ships, Elon Musk allegedly turned off the Starlink satellites. These drones, they lost obviously the connection with their operators and they just did crash without destroying anything. So basically Elon Musk protected the Russian ship, and he said in his defense that he was just thinking about the future of the world. He did not want this event to lead to a nuclear war. But well, even though this was a pretty unfortunate event, Ukrainians do not need the assistance of Elon Musk at all times. For example, recently it has been reported that they were able to destroy extremely modern and extremely expensive Russian radar called Predel Air, which is estimatedly costs more than $200 million. In addition to that, also Ukrainians, once again using extremely cheap drones, were able to destroy a Russian heavy flamethrower called Solntsepek. But most importantly, in Oleshki, just across Dnipro river on the left side of Kherson region, Ukrainians were able to destroy a car with Russian collaborators, FSB agents and some Russian soldiers. Just a couple last words about the combat activities in the south before moving to the east. And so first of all, according to the report by the Institute for the Study of War, the main activities were happening in between Zaporozhye and Donetsk front lines and also in the western Zaporozhye region. In addition to that, Ukrainian artillery was able to destroy a pretty big artillery position of Russians located to the south of Poima. And as we take a look at this map, which shows us the changes in territorial control, we can see that Ukrainians were able to establish the liberated zone over this small area located right here, next to Robotyne. But as we move closer to the east, in between Zaporozhye and Donetsk regions, we can see that unfortunately Russians were able to recapture some land to the north of Priyutne. But during these combat activities, Ukrainians reportedly were able to destroy a pretty big ammunition warehouse located to the south of this settlement. But just overall, according to Anna Malyar, despite this temporary success of Russians being able to recapture some land, overall, Ukrainian counteroffensive in the south is more dominant. Ukrainians, slowly but surely, they advance even closer to the south to significant cities such as Melitopol and Berdyansk. It will take some time, but Ukrainians reportedly are gaining the momentum. Now let's quickly switch to the east of Ukraine and talk about what kind of a surprise attack Ukrainians did, which allowed them to claim some major territories. But first of all, as you can see from this video, Ukrainian border guards were able to establish their Ukrainian flags in this small settlement called Topoli, right next to the actual front line. But as for now, they asked the local residents to not come back yet to Topoli because the combat activities they still go on, and in confirmation of this, the very same day, Ukrainian artillery was able to destroy a pretty big assault group of Russians along with their military vehicles to the north of Piski. Next, we refer to the report by the Institute for the Study of War, and as always, there are Russian-Ukrainian clashes along Kupiansk-Svatove-Kreminno front line, but Ukrainians at the same time were able to destroy a Russian tank located to the west of Svatove. Moving down to Bakhmut, Ukrainians also reportedly were able to destroy an assault group of Russians to the south of the city, along with even more of their military vehicles. And according to the press secretary of the eastern group of the Ukrainian army, Ilya Yevlash, Ukrainians now seizing the advantage next to Bakhmut and Klishchiivka. Russians are trying to protect and defend themselves and their positions, but Ukrainian pressure is much more intense. That is why Russians most likely in the near future will start retreating. We even have this video from Bakhmut frontline where Ukrainians using mortars were able to destroy a small assault group of Russians. The full video is also on my Patreon. And as we move down from Bakhmut to another settlement called Andriivka, here is yet another video of Ukrainians using the artillery to destroy Russian positions. And this is out of most recent combat activities. As you can see from this map, Ukrainians were able to advance a little bit closer to the south of Avdiivka. Besides that, as we go along the eastern front lines, another Russian Model T-90 tank was destroyed in Luhansk region. And as we approach Avdiivka, Avdiivka, to the north of this settlement, another one called Kamenka, Ukrainians were able to destroy another assault group of Russians. But most important event of the last 24 hours is that Ukrainians were able to do a surprise attack and get extremely close to a pretty significant settlement south of Avdiivka called Opetne, as you can see from this map. And just in general, a total of 1 ammunition warehouse, 5 artillery devices, 2 control points and 2 air defense systems of Russians were destroyed by Ukrainians in the last 24 hours alone. But the question is, how Ukrainians were able to achieve this surprise attack? And well, the answer is that Ukrainians drastically changed their military tactics and came back to the usage of smaller assault groups which are much more agile, mobile, and they are able to perform such military raids pretty much almost unnoticed by Russians. And just in case if this number of manpower is not enough to liberate significant and important territories, it does not matter. Ukrainians will always collect intelligence and reconnaissance data, come back to their reinforcements, share the data with them, and then they will launch much more precise attacks. So this is exactly how Ukrainians were able to achieve this surprise attack and liberate pretty big territory next to key city Opetne. And in response to that, Russians as always are only significantly concerned. So maybe we will see soon enough that they'll be tactically retreating, or in the best case scenario they might even do a goodwill gesture. I mean, just don't you already see the pattern? As soon as Russians start using these extremely vague sentences, it means that yes, they acknowledge the situation is very complicated, most likely soon they will need to retreat. Let's just give Ukrainians a couple of more days and we see. And just overall, this time according to the US intelligence, they see that Ukrainian counteroffensive specifically in the south, it does gain the momentum, and most likely by the end of this year they will be able to breach the remaining 2 lines of defenses and accelerate their liberations. We might even see some big territories being liberated, maybe even Melitopol or some other territories on the way to this settlement. So if you don't want to miss it, it's going to happen very fast. Just please consider subscribing to my channel, it only takes 1 click.